Now, talking about lefties losing it, remember this chat before the election featuring TDS duo actor Robert De Niro and TV host Bill Maher?
If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship, which is what he says. Let's believe him, take him at his word.
I did from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I said from the very beginning, this guy is never going to concede power.
A dictatorship? Well, no one has come for Robert De Niro, and Bill Maher is still on TV. And now he will be meeting President Donald Trump at the White House. This has been set up by one of Maher's recent guests and one of Trump's friends, rock star Kid Rock.
In one of the more unexpected political developments in recent memory, comedian and TV host Bill Maher, known for his acerbic wit and consistent criticism of Donald Trump, is reportedly set to meet with the former president at the White House. The news has stirred reactions across the political spectrum, not least because this isn't a pairing anyone saw coming. Maher, whose HBO show Real Time with Bill Maher has for years served as a platform for scathing critiques of Trump's presidency and political movement, has long been regarded as a fixture of liberal commentary. His past warnings about Trump's authoritarian tendencies, coupled with his open disdain for what he once called the MAGA cult, make this schedule sit down a moment thick with irony. Even more curious is the person credited with setting up the meeting, Kid Rock, a musician and unabashed Trump ally, who has appeared on Maher's show and evidently served as an unlikely bridge between these two media heavyweights. The idea of Maher stepping into the same space as Trump, let alone doing so voluntarily, has raised eyebrows, invited speculation, and sparked sharp analysis among political commentators, particularly on the right. Check it out. It's all right, Georgie.
What do you think about this? I've got to say, I am not a fan of this plan.
Rita, I don't trust Bill Maher, to put it mildly. I mean, the same way that I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg and a lot of these California liberals who are increasingly in Donald Trump's good graces. Having said that, even though I don't trust him, I'm not sure that it's a politically bad move for Donald Trump. There's very little in the way of downside here. Frankly, there's only potential upside. I mean, Rita, before the election, you and I discussed how the 2024 election in America really did not come down necessarily to an ideological right versus an ideological left divide. Rather, you had the MAGA America First coalition, which is basically a nonpartisan coalition of the common sense. That's how you had so many prominent ex-Democrats, people like RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard there. And then on the other hand, you had the civilizational arsonists, the woke crazies there. Now, again, Bill Maher is a liberal. I disagree with him on more issues than I agree with him on there, but he is very anti-woke. There are some things that he's potentially amenable to the Trump administration's message on. And more importantly, he's got a massive audience. I mean, he has an absolutely massive audience. His show has won God knows how many Emmy Awards here in the United States there. He has genuine reach there. Just kind of colloquially speaking here in my circles there, people watch his show. I mean, his message gets out there. So if Donald Trump can kind of bring him in, and if Bill Maher can at least become slightly less hysterically Trump derangement syndrome induced, I'm not getting my hopes up for that, by the way. But if there's any possibility of that happening there, seems like it's worth it to me. Again, I don't trust the guy there, but I see very little in the way of downside for this play.
Let's talk about the underlying themes in this wild Bill Maher, Donald Trump saga, because there's a lot going on beneath the surface. First off, the idea of Trump derangement syndrome takes center stage, with Maher being called out as someone who just can't see Trump clearly, even when he agrees with some of his ideas. It's like he's willing to criticize the left all day long, but when it comes to Trump, he hits a mental wall. That contradiction sets the tone for a bigger conversation about media bias and cultural influence, where Maher's massive platform is both praised and side-eyed. Conservatives in the discussion admit he has reach, but argue he's still funneling leftist narratives whether he realizes it or not. The kicker, though, is the idea of a political realignment, a shift from the classic left versus right divide to something more like common sense versus woke insanity. The fact that former Democrats like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard are now aligning with more populist or conservative messages only fuels that argument. So what looks like a strange meeting between political opposites might actually signal something deeper, a cultural and ideological reshuffling where influence, not party lines, is what really counts.
I think he gets a golden run, Josh. Not only is Maher a tedious sufferer, I think he benefits from the bigotry of low expectations conservatives have these days for the left, because occasionally, yes, he'll say something that's anti-woke, he'll point out some sensible point of view, something the right has been saying for years, and we all stand around and clap like he's said something profound, even though it's really just repeating what has been said by the other side of politics for a long time. But as Megyn Kelly exposed in her chat with Maher, this dude is in a bubble, profoundly ignorant of stuff that he pretends to be passionate about, like election denial.
Hillary Clinton, of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president.
Okay.
All right, let's unpack this part of the story, because it's not just a weird political cameo, it's a calculated power move. The meeting between Donald Trump and Bill Maher isn't some random handshake moment. It's being framed as a strategic play by Trump to tap into Maher's massive cultural reach. Think about it. Maher has spent years dragging Trump on air, roasting him every chance he gets. But despite that history, Trump is still willing to sit down with him. Why? Because Maher's audience is huge, his influence is real, and like it or not, people listen when he talks. Now here's where it gets spicy. The conservative commentators weighing in are not exactly Maher fans. In fact, there's a lot of side-eyeing going on. They don't trust him, they call him out for repeating leftist narratives, and they think he's stuck in a bubble. But even with all that, they're willing to admit Maher has been loudly anti-woke, and that makes him, at the very least, an interesting player in the game. It's like, we don't like him, but we see the value. So while they're skeptical of any real alliance, they recognize that even a little softening of Maher's stance on Trump could ripple across the culture. This isn't about changing Maher's mind overnight. It's about testing the waters, flipping the script, and maybe, just maybe, bridging a gap in the culture war.
What do you say to that? Because, yes, amongst other left-wing commentators and TV hosts, he's far more sensible, far more balanced. But at the end of the day, he has bought all this propaganda about Trump and hasn't bothered to check some of that information, including things like things that have been debunked for years that the left still are pushing these to this day.
Rita, look, I am not a Bill Maher apologist. I'll be very candid with you. I don't even watch his show, actually. But having said that, I've had a number of friends here who have been on his show there. And I can tell you that based on what I've heard from those who have been there on the show with him, some of them have actually tried to talk in private off camera. I won't name names. I won't kind of get into that. But some of them have actually tried to talk about Trump with him off camera there. And they here, there, and everywhere hit a block, because he seems to just genuinely have a mental block when it comes to Donald Trump there. He has a very hard time getting over that. Even if he is sympathetic to a lot of his policies there, he's definitely sympathetic to a lot of what Trump says when it comes to the dangers of radical Islam. He's very pro-Israel. I mean, like free speech. I mean, there's some stuff that he genuinely seems to disagree with the modern left on, but he has a massive holdup when it comes to Donald Trump. That's probably what Donald Trump is thinking and taking this meeting, actually. He's like, okay, this guy's a massive critic of mine. He's got a gargantuan platform. Maybe I can bring him in and like, you know, let's get a McDonald's Happy Meal or something, and I'll show him like I'm not a fascist, that I'm not straight out of Munich in 1933 or something there. Again, maybe not the greatest odds in the world of succeeding there, but I'm just not necessarily seeing the downside here.
The right-wing voices in this piece are basically giving Bill Maher a backhanded compliment. On one hand, they're like, okay, fine, the guy has a huge reach, Emmy Awards, a loyal audience, he's been in the game forever. But then they're quick to throw in the warning, don't get it twisted, just because he occasionally roasts the woke crowd, doesn't mean he's not still pushing the same old left-wing talking points. It's kind of like that friend who occasionally agrees with you, and everyone starts acting like they've totally changed. But nah, they're still wearing the same jersey underneath. That's how Maher is being positioned here. He might say some things that sound conservative adjacent, but the argument is he's still reinforcing the same elite narratives that conservatives feel disconnected from. And in the bigger picture, this is less about Maher himself and more about how cultural figures shape public opinion, sometimes in ways they don't even realize. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. If you made it this far, you're officially part of the Smart Squad, breaking down politics, media, and culture with us one spicy take at a time. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives, cultural breakdowns, and a little bit of chaos. Hit the bell so you never miss a drop, and as always, thanks for being here. Catch you in the next one.